We all have moments in our lives when we feel that what is happening to us is not right. We face failure, we are betrayed, or something happens in life that we did not expect. During such times, our hearts sink. We feel sad and we think, why is this happening to me? Everyone in life faces struggles at some point. Sometimes we face career failures, relationship issues, or financial difficulties. We think, why am I not reaping the fruits of my hard work? Why has my life become so tough? If you're dealing with a similar problem, make sure to listen to this story all the way through. You'll discover both a solution and inspiration from it. A young man named Ravi, whom you might relate to, was struggling with similar questions. He had worked hard day and night to get his dream job. He prepared for every interview, but each time, he faced rejection. With every rejection, his confidence crumbled. His friends and family told him, everything will be fine, don't worry. But he had given up hope. One day, an old friend of Ravi's came to visit him. He saw how disappointed Ravi was and asked, "What's wrong, Ravi? Why are you so down?" Ravi poured out his heart. "I've worked so hard, but I didn't get the job. Now it feels like I'll never succeed. All my dreams are shattered." His friend smiled and said, "Ravi, do you know that whatever happens, happens for the best? You think these failures are bad for you, but perhaps they are meant for something else." Ravi listened to his friend's words, but he wasn't fully convinced. He thought this was just a comforting phrase. His friend saw the sadness on Ravi's face and understood that it would take time for him to accept this truth. He then said, "Let me tell you a story. Maybe it will help change your perspective. Once upon a time, in a quaint little village nestled between rolling hills and fertile valleys, there lived a wise and revered sage named Rishi Dev. The villagers often sought his wisdom in times of need, for his words had a way of soothing troubled minds and bringing clarity to even the most complicated situations. The village itself thrived on agriculture. It was a land blessed with rich soil and plentiful rain. Yet despite these natural gifts, not everyone's efforts bore fruit in equal measure. Some years were better than others, and while most farmers enjoyed bountiful harvests, there was one farmer named Mohan who was particularly unlucky. Mohan was a hard-working man. From dawn to dusk, he toiled in his fields, plowing, sowing, watering, and nurturing his crops. But no matter how much effort he put in, his crops seemed to fail every year. If not drought, then pests. If not pests, then a storm would wash everything away. Each year, while his fellow villagers celebrated the harvest with joy, Mohan would sit by his empty granary, wondering why fortune had forsaken him. One such year, after another season of hard work had gone to waste, Mohan felt utterly defeated. His fields, once full of promise, now lay barren and ravaged by a sudden storm. He had nothing left to feed his family, no grain to sell at the market, and not even seeds to plant for the next season. His heart heavy with sorrow, he decided to seek out Rishi Dev, hoping the wise sage could offer some insight into his misery. As he approached the sage's humble hut, Mohan's feet dragged with the weight of his despair. When he arrived, he found the sage seated under a large banyan tree, meditating peacefully. The gentle breeze rustled the leaves, creating a serene atmosphere, but Mohan's heart was anything but calm. With a deep sigh, he spoke up, "O wise one, I come to you with a burden that grows heavier each year. I work harder than anyone in this village, but my efforts are in vain. My crops fail year after year, and now I have nothing left. Why does this happen to me? Why do I face misfortune while others prosper?" Rishi Dev opened his eyes slowly and smiled with a deep understanding. He gestured for Mohan to sit beside him and said, "My son, I see the pain in your heart. You feel that your hard work goes unrewarded and that fate has been unkind to you. But remember, everything that happens in life has a purpose, even if we cannot see it at the moment. Whatever happens, happens for the best." Mohan frowned at these words. He had heard them before, and they always felt like a hollow consolation. "But wise sage," Mohan protested, "how can you say this is for the best? My crops are ruined. My land is barren. My family has nothing to eat. What good can come from this suffering?" The sage, unperturbed by Mohan's frustration, replied, "Let me tell you a story, Mohan. There was once a bird that built its nest on the highest branch of a great tree. Every morning the bird would fly out to gather food, and every evening it would return to its cozy nest. One day a terrible storm came, and the strong winds blew the bird's nest off the tree, sending it crashing to the ground. The bird was devastated. It had lost everything it had worked so hard to build. The sage paused, letting the story sink in before continuing. The bird mourned its loss and wondered why such a terrible thing had happened. But as it looked for a new place to build a nest, it would never have found this grove, which provided it with food and shelter far better than its previous home. Mohan listened intently, but the sadness in his heart remained. "But Rishi Dev," he said softly, "I am not a bird. I cannot just find new fields to plant. My land is all I have, and it has failed me." The sage smiled gently and said, "The bird's story is not just about finding something better. It's about understanding that sometimes what seems like a loss is actually an opportunity in disguise. You may not see it now, but perhaps your struggles are leading you towards something greater than you can imagine." Mohan's brow furrowed with doubt. He respected the sage, but his heart was too heavy to fully embrace the wisdom. Nevertheless, he thanked Rishi Dev and returned to his home, still unsure of what the future held. Days passed and Mohan continued to worry. His neighbors, sympathetic to his plight, offered him some food and seeds to plant, but his spirit was broken. He could not shake the feeling that his efforts would only lead to more disappointment. Then one night, a terrible storm rolled over the village. The wind howled like a wild beast, and the rain came down in torrents. The river that ran through the village swelled to dangerous levels, and before anyone could act, it burst its banks. Water rushed through the fields, flooding homes and washing away crops. Many farmers who had been preparing for a bountiful harvest saw their fields destroyed in a single night. When the storm finally passed, the village was left in disarray. Crops were ruined and many homes were damaged. The villagers were devastated, for their entire livelihood had been washed away. But as Mohan surveyed the damage, he noticed something remarkable. His fields, which had been barren and empty, were largely untouched by the floodwaters. The soil, which had been too dry and cracked to plant in, was now moist and rich, ready to be sown with seeds. The same storm that had ruined his neighbor's crops had given Mohan's land new life. For the first time in months, a spark of hope ignited in Mohan's heart. He quickly set to work, planting the seeds his neighbors had given him. This time the crops flourished. The once barren land now yielded an abundant harvest, more than Mohan had ever seen in his life. His family, who had once faced hunger, now had enough to eat, and Mohan even had surplus crops to sell at the market. Ravi heard this story, and a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes. He thought that maybe his failures were also preparing him for a bigger purpose, but doubt still lingered in his mind. He asked his friend, "The story is good, but do you think something like that could happen in my life too?" His friend replied, "Ravi, failures don't come to stop us. They come to teach us. Every time we fail, we have the opportunity to learn. Every failure takes us one step closer to the success that is truly meant for us." This time, Ravi took his friend's words to heart and decided not to give up. He chose to learn from his failures and work even harder to overcome his weaknesses. A few months later, Ravi received an interview call from a major company. This time, he was more prepared than ever, and his confidence had returned. During the interview, he presented everything he had learned from his previous experiences perfectly. Not only did he get the job, but his hard work and willingness to learn were also appreciated. So, dear friends, Ravi's story is similar to what many of us go through in life. We all face failures and disappointments, but that doesn't mean failure is the end. Failures bring us closer to our goals, provided we learn from them and don't give up. Whatever happens, happens for the best is not just a phrase of comfort. It is a real-life principle. When we face life's challenges with an open heart, we realize that these challenges make us stronger and guide us to where we are truly meant to be. Don't view failures as the end of your journey, but as the beginning of your success. Remember, after every difficulty, a new dawn rises, and every failure brings you closer to the success that is meant for you. If you like this story and learned something from it, then subscribe to our channel Imaginea, and don't forget to like and share this video. We will continue to bring you inspiring stories that can make your life better. Thanks for watching.